Inside Los Zetas, the deadliest cartel you've never heard of. Mexico, a country known for its vibrant culture and stunning landscapes. But beneath the surface, a dark and dangerous world lurks. The world of drug cartels. You may have heard of the notorious Sinaloa and Gulf cartels, but there's one cartel that managed to stay under the radar, yet is more terrifying than any of the others. Los Zetas. Los Zetas is known for their extreme brutality. They're the deadliest cartel you've probably never heard of. But how did they become so powerful? Let's find out in this video. But before we get into the story, hit the subscribe button to see more videos like this. Did you know their name has an interesting origin? Zetas is derived from the Spanish word zeta, which translates to the letter Z. This was a reference to the radio code used by the Mexican military to identify officers who had undergone special forces training. Yes, the Mexican military. One of the most notorious criminal organizations started within a group of former Mexican Special Forces soldiers who formed Los Zetas as enforcers for the Gulf Cartel in the late 1990s. But they soon became their own organization, and their reputation for extreme violence and brutality quickly spread like wildfire. The mere mention of their name was enough to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. The formation of Los Zetas can be traced back to Gulf Cartel boss Oseo Cardenas Guillen's violent turf war in 1997. To protect himself and his organization, Cardenas sought out the assistance of Arturo Guzman de Sena, a retired army lieutenant who convinced more than 30 deserters from the elite Grupo Aeromóvil de Fuerzas Especiales, GAFE, or the Mexican Army Special Forces, to become his bodyguards and later his mercenary wing. These former GAFE members reportedly received training in commando and urban warfare from the Israeli and US Special Forces. Once Guillen solidified his power, he expanded the responsibilities of Los Zetas, which began to organize kidnappings, protection rackets, extortion, securing cocaine supplies and trafficking routes, known as plazas, and executing its foes, often with extreme violence. With their military training and expertise, the Zetas quickly became the most feared and emulated criminals in Mexico. They were heavily armed with military-grade ordnance, including 50 caliber sniper rifles, and were considered by the DEA to be the most dangerous drug trafficking organization in Mexico. Hey, if you're still watching this video, let me ask you a question. Why haven't you subscribed yet? Come on, man. After the arrest of Oseo Cardenas in 2003, the Zetas morphed into their own cartel and gained control of key territories and routes. Their zone of influence ranged from the lower Texas border, south along the Atlantic and Caribbean coastal states of Mexico, through Chiapas, and all the way into Guatemala, where they transshipped South American cocaine to Mexico. Their base remained the industrial border cities in the Mexican state of Tamaulipas, with Nuevo Laredo being one of their main strongholds. But fear kept the residents of Nuevo Laredo silent, hesitant to discuss the Zetas openly. As the government crackdown on drug trafficking intensified, the Zetas diversified their criminal activities. They expanded into oil theft, using false import documents to smuggle oil, worth millions of dollars, for sale to US refineries. But still, the most terrifying aspect of the Zetas was their reputation for violence. Brutality and cruelty were not only accepted, but expected. Los Zetas' preferred method of intimidation was to hang the bodies of their enemies from bridges as a warning to others. It was like something out of a horror movie, but unfortunately, it was all too real. Reportedly, the Zetas enjoyed killing and were so cruel that their tortures were worse than any horror film, with electric shocks, waterboarding, and even acid being just some of the methods they used to extract information from their enemies. They're believed to be responsible for some of the deadliest massacres in Mexico's drug war. According to reports, an estimated 60,000 disappeared, and some were cooked in ovens in the famous Los Zetas cartel kitchen. This was a secret location where Los Zetas would torture and kill their victims. The kitchen was equipped with an industrial-sized oven, deep freezers, and other tools and appliances used to dismember and dispose of the bodies of their victims. The walls were stained with blood, and the floors were covered in human remains. But that's not all. Los Zetas' cruelty wasn't just limited to their treatment of rival cartel members and law enforcement officials. They also targeted civilians, particularly those who refused to cooperate with them or spoke out against their activities. Los Zetas were known to carry out mass executions of innocent people, including women and children. In one particularly horrific incident, they massacred 72 migrants who were traveling through Mexico en route to the United States. And in order to promote their heinous activities, they used social media to post graphic images and videos of their victims online, as well as use Twitter and other platforms to issue threats and taunt their rivals. Despite their reputation for violence, Los Zetas operated like a corporation, with a CEO who was in charge of all operations. Members of the cartel were known to blend in with society, working as lawyers, businessmen, and even politicians. It was like they were playing a twisted game of hide-and-seek with the authorities. The Zetas were a formidable force, and law enforcement officials like homicide detective Robert Garcia of the Laredo Police Department knew that apprehending members of the Zetas was no easy feat, and the Mexican government had also been trying to stop the drug cartel for years, with little success. The organization has been infamously difficult to disrupt due to the high-level counterinsurgency training of the initial members from the Mexican military. The cartel was estimated to have over 6,000 members and operated in more than half of the states in Mexico. The Zetas had a strong presence in Central America, particularly in Guatemala, where they established partnerships with local gangs to expand their operations. They were also known to recruit members from other countries, particularly from Central and South America, adding to their overall level of training and discipline. Eventually, Los Zetas' violent tactics caught the attention of the international community, with the US government designating them as a terrorist organization in 2010. But there were concerns that they were colluding with corrupt officials and law enforcement in Mexico, making it even harder to stop them. Their influence extended beyond Mexico's borders, with instances of violence in American cities linked to the cartel. But despite their notoriety, Los Zetas remained a mysterious organization to many. The cartel's inner workings are closely guarded, and information on its leaders and members was scarce. It was like they were a secret society operating in plain sight. But the Zetas' reign of terror was coming to an end. They faced challenges from rival cartels, particularly the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, and law enforcement officials were successful in targeting and apprehending members of the Zetas. However, the Zetas remained a major threat to Mexico and the wider region, and their continued operations showed that they were a force to be reckoned with. The question is, could they be stopped before it became too late? Both sides of the border's law enforcement authorities fought back. Los Zetas was sanctioned by the Obama administration in 2012 as one of 4 significant international organized crime groups, along with the Brothers Circle of Russia, the Yamaguchi-gumi from Japan, and the Camorra from Italy. The US also offered a $5 million reward for information leading to the successful detention of Miguel Trevio Morales, the top leader of the Los Zetas, also known as Z40. After raids and scores of arrests in New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma, Z40 and 2 of his brothers were captured and charged in Texas in 2012. But the fight against Los Zetas is far from over. However, successful operations like Operation Blackjack resulted in the largest weapon seizure in the history of Mexico and have interrupted Los Zetas' operations. Today, the once powerful Los Zetas cartel no longer exists as a unified criminal organization. Its fragmentation into smaller splinter cells has made it difficult to identify those in leadership positions. Juan Gerardo Trevino Chavez, alias El Huevo, is believed to be the most powerful leader of the highly fragmented Zetas, specifically the Northeast Cartel faction. However, his recent arrest and extradition to the United States on drug trafficking charges provoked a wave of violence by Northeast Cartel forces. As Los Zetas was falling apart, the fate of individual members of Los Zetas varied widely. Some members may have been captured or killed by the Mexican authorities, while others may have gone into hiding or joined other criminal organizations like the CJNG cartel. And just like that, it seems like crime is a never-ending story. What do you think of Los Zetas? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to catch up with us in the next video. See ya!